I read the entire Bible and I'm going to rank all the foods mentioned in the scriptures. I'm going to mention how many times they've been mentioned in the Bible, and I'm going to give you a review how good the foods are. And I'm doing it based off of hormonal optimization. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex and I help men optimize hormones naturally and righteously. And I'm just going to be ranking all of the foods mentioned based off of how it affects the metabolic rate, your thyroid hormones, your testosterone levels, and things like that. You see a lot in the trends on TikTok, on Twitter, people mentioning how they're on the biblical diet and things like that. So right now I just want to review how accurate is the Bible when it comes to optimizing your health. So that being said, let's get into it. So first of all, we have almonds. So almonds are mentioned 6 times in the Bible. And when it comes to almonds, I would put them in category D. So when it comes to the ranking, S is the best, D is the worst, and in between is in the middle. So I would put almonds in D because they have polyunsaturated fats, which oxidize and cause oxidative stress, and the polyunsaturated fats mess with the body's ability to produce thyroid hormones, and thyroid, especially active thyroid hormone, is the foundation to testosterone with T3, LDL cholesterol, and vitamin A. So if you're eating a lot of almonds every day, it's gonna lower your testosterone levels. Also, nuts have phytic acid, which messes with the absorption of nutrients like zinc, which leads to micronutrient deficiencies long term. So nuts, I would stay away from. Obviously, in those times, nuts and the consumption of nuts would come into play when it comes to the environment. So let's say there's winter time, you would eat a lot of nuts to lower the metabolic rate, so your metabolism is lower, so you don't burn through all of your resources. So there is a reason why they're there and why people consume that. But for an optimal state, you don't want to be munching on grams and grams of nuts in the peak of summer, because it messes with the metabolic rate. Next, we had fish. So when it comes to fish, fundamentally they have polyunsaturated fats, and things like salmon, things like that, fish oils are very problematic when it comes to testosterone levels. But biblically speaking, the fish that they were eating back then were warm water fish. So warm water fish have a saturated content. So I would actually put those fish in category A because they're very easily digestible and a good source of protein. When it comes to now, I would be cautious with heavy metals, this, that, and the other. But overall, warm water fish is very solid. Next, we have locusts. So locusts, John the Baptist specifically would eat them with honey. But locusts, and with the fish were mentioned 38 times in the Bible. Locusts were mentioned 6 times. And locusts I would put in category B. The reason why is because locusts have a slight amount of polyunsaturated fats. It's not completely bad, depending where you're getting the locusts from. The one from like warmer countries, the polyunsaturated fat content will be lower. But yeah, good source of protein. I know also choline, so it's pretty okay. Next we have milk. Milk is mentioned 48 times in the Bible, and milk I would put in category A. So milk is amazing, it's very good, especially in those times. The milk would have a lot of protective hormones and things like that. The reason why I would not put it in category S is because some people have issues with digesting it and things like that, which can lead to bacterial overgrowth and all those interesting things. Next we have honey, which is mentioned 61 times in the Bible. I would place it in category S. S is amazing, it's very easily digestible. It's very high in polyphenols, which are very protective, increases the metabolism, and fundamentally it's very easily digestible. It doesn't feed the gram-negative bacteria, and it fuels the liver to then convert T4 into T3, and then you're producing thyroid hormones, increases the metabolic rate, things like that. So honey is good. Next we have cheese, which is mentioned 3 times in the Bible, and I would put cheese in category A. Same thing with the dairy. Cheese, very good, depending on the cheese, high in vitamin K, calcium, things like that. And yeah, cheese is good. Next, we have butter. Butter is mentioned 10 times in the Bible, and I would place it in category A as well. Very, very good quality, and yes, same reason with the dairy, all in this category. Next, we have water. So water is mentioned 722 times. I would put it in category B. Water is important, but the overconsumption of water can dilute your electrolytes. Things like milk is better because it's high in calcium, electrolyte, carbohydrates. And when it comes to hydration, you want the combination of trinity maxing with electrolyte, glucose, and H2O, which is water. A lot of people overdo this, which leads to dilution of the electrolytes. If you're hypothyroid, it can mess with your electrolyte balance, causing cold hands and feet and things like that. So I would put it in B. Next, we have wine, which is mentioned 231 times. This is alcoholic wine, I'm going to mention, and biblically speaking, in the New Testament, Paul mentions how a little bit of wine is good for thy stomach's sake. Also, when it comes to studies, a little bit of wine is okay, and I would put it in B. The overconsumption, the drunkenness, the lack of temperance, gluttony of wine is the huge problem. Next, we have vinegar, which was mentioned 11 times. I would put it in A tier. When it comes to vinegar, I mean more so white vinegar rather than apple cider vinegar, because apple cider vinegar might have problematic things like the mother, if you know what I mean by that, the clump in the thing. When it comes to white vinegar, it contains acetic acid, I believe, and it's very powerful for antibacterial properties. So when you're having your carrot salad, having that in there is very good. Now next we have salt. Salt goes to S tier. So salt is mentioned 40 times in the Bible. Salt is very good for the sodium, lowering aldosterone, keeping parathyroid hormone low, and overall optimizing stress hormones, keeping them low, lowering water retention, optimizing testosterone levels and things like that, allowing for proper metabolism. So salt is in S tier. Next we have poultry, so different types of, so not chicken, but like I have porterage, quail, so different birds were mentioned 2 and 4 times. And I would put them in B tier. The reason why that is because white meat overall is high in tryptophan, and tryptophan can get converted into serotonin, which is a hibernation hormone, which lowers the metabolic rate. It has been shown to lower testosterone levels. So the reason why androgens and good hormones boost the mood is because they lower the conversion of tryptophan to serotonin. So protein is good, but overconsumption is not good. So I would keep this on the low end. Next we have pomegranate, which is mentioned 32 times. For me, it's S tier. It's very good, easily digestible. 2 weeks consumption of pomegranate was able to boost testosterone levels by 24%. When it comes to pomegranate, every time I give it to friends to try it out, it always works very well. So pomegranate is very good, and it's cool enough that it's mentioned in the Bible as well. Next we have olives, which are mentioned in olive oil 202 times. I would put it in A tier. So olives are more of a monounsaturated fats. So polyunsaturated fats are more unstable. so they lower lower thyroid hormones. Monounsaturated fats are not as bad, but not as optimal as saturated fats. When it comes to olive oil, it can be very good, very protective. I just wouldn't cook with it because under high heat it oxidizes, so I would just put it in A tier. So next we have melons. So melons are mentioned once in the Bible, and I would put it in S tier. Not particularly because there's some magic behind it or some compounds that boost testosterone, just because it's very easily digestible. It's very easy on the digestive tract. If you're someone that has a lot of issues with certain foods and this, that, and the other, melons are high in carbohydrates, easily digestible, and very good. Next we have grapes. Grapes are mentioned 49 times in the Bible, and I would place them in S tier. Very similar to the melons, they're just very easily digestible, so good quality grapes are solid. Next is dry fruits. So dry fruits I would place in B tier. So dry fruits like raisins are mentioned 4 times in the Bible, figs are mentioned 55, and dates, not specifically dates, but palm trees which produce dates are mentioned a few times. The reason for B tier is because they're high in soluble fiber, which can feed the gram-negative bacteria, increasing endotoxin, lowering testosterone. But dry fruits are very high in carbohydrates, so you can get your calories in to fuel the metabolic rate, and high in minerals like boron, which can be very good if you're deficient, so dry fruits are good. Next, I would put apples, which are mentioned 3 times in the Bible, in B tier. Apples are solid. The only thing with the soluble fiber, especially pectins, can be problematic for some, so it's very neutral, it's solid. But yeah, apples are good. Then cucumbers, which is a fruit also, I would put it in A tier. It's basically water, easily digestible, so I would just put it here. Not particularly any reason, just easily digestible, and it's solid. Next, onions. So onions are mentioned once in the Bible. I would put them in B tier. Onions have been shown to boost testosterone levels, and I've made videos in the past that they increase it by like 200%. But my opinion, I made that video like a year or 2 years ago, and my opinion has changed in a sense. Why is it boosting the testosterone? Is it because it's stopping the conversion of testosterone to DHT? Also, with a lot of people, onions can be a gut irritant, so it can be problematic, so I'm very neutral with it. But yeah. Next we have mustard seeds, which are mentioned 5 times in the Bible. I would put them in D tier because seeds are high in PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats. They have anti-nutrients to stop the body from consuming it. So seeds have protective mechanisms preventing things, creatures, whatever you want to call, humans, animals, from eating it and digesting it, because it's the vital proponent of reproduction, right? We can eat the fruit, but the seed should go through us and be replanted and grow into a tree. So fruit is good, seeds are not. So I would put it in D. Next we have mint, mentioned twice in the Bible. I would put it in D tier. I've made videos on how mint drastically lowers testosterone levels. So if you're using even mint toothpaste, mint teas, I would definitely stay away from that. Also, by the way, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, I highly recommend joining the Brotherhood community. There's courses, and it's all biblically driven. I try to involve the Bible, scripture, and optimizing testosterone levels naturally. There's a 7-day free trial, so I'll leave a link down below. And yeah, I'll continue with this. So next we have lentils. So lentils are mentioned 4 times in the Bible, and I would put them in D tier. Lentils are just really problematic. They mess with the thyroid hormones. They have anti-nutrients and overall not a good food to have consistently in your diet, and ultimately very problematic. Next we have garlic, mentioned once in the Bible. I would put it in C tier. It's not horrible. It's not something specific. It has no properties. The only thing with the garlic is, I know 400 milligrams or 200 milligrams of garlic with 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C boosted nitric oxide production by 200%. And if the nitric oxide increase, which is blood flow, is systemic, that's problematic. If it's local, could have beneficial properties. But overall, it can be a good irritant and things like that. So I would put it more in C tier. I know people love garlic with honey when they're sick and this and that. But I'll be more neutral-ish on it and lower end because it can be problematic. So I would put it between C and B, maybe B. Yeah, just kind of like onions, so I'll just leave it like that. Next we have things like red meat. But the red meat mentioned in the Bible is things like beef, oxen, which is 172 times, deer over 10 times, fattened calves 6 times, goats 96 times, lamb 191, sheep 189, and I would put that in A tier. So red meat would be higher than poultry. Red meat has more nutrients and things like that, so it's more beneficial. I still wouldn't over-consume it because the overconsumption of amino acids can be problematic, also iron and things like that, so I would put it in A tier. When it comes to other protein sources like eggs, which are mentioned 3 times in the Bible, but they're mentioned more of a like telling a story rather than more so eating foods. But if I was to rank eggs would probably go in S tier. Very good, easily digestible. Maybe in between S and A, because the overconsumption of eggs can be problematic because the more eggs you consume, the higher PUFA content you'll be consuming per day, because eggs do have some PUFAs. So yeah. Next we have grains. So things like flour is mentioned 65 times, barley is mentioned 35 times, wheat 52 times. And I would put it honestly in D tier, because these can be very estrogenic if you're consuming a lot of it, serotonergic, things like that. But if you do something with like wheat, let's say you do sourdough bread, which is mentioned 361 times. So bread I would put in B tier. The reason in B tier rather than A or S, B because it's good, you can eat it. It's sourdough, so all the problematic things are breaking down. It's still a starch, so which is a polysaccharide, which if you're in a hypothyroid state, it can feed the gram-negative bacteria, increasing endotoxin. And as you can see, based off of the list, I put things in the S tier because of how easily digestible they are. With bread, it's harder to digest, and in some cases, it can be problematic, so I'm more neutral with it. Next, we have things like corn, which I would put it same in B tier. Corn is mentioned 101 times, and this is more so the good corn, not the GMO that we have nowadays. Make some tortilla wraps with the corn, same, very solid source. On the B tier, because for some people starches can be problematic. And then last we have unleavened bread. I would put it in C tier. So unleavened bread is mentioned when in the book of Exodus how the Israelites had to flee Egypt, from slavery, and with unleavened bread you can make the bread quicker. So God told them not to leaven it. So leavened bread is like sourdough bread, which takes time to ferment and do its thing, and unleavened it takes quicker to make. So they had to make bread quickly so they don't wait around and miss the opportunity to escape. So that's where it comes from. With the unleavened bread, I would put it in C tier, because the wheat and things like that, and it's not fermented or all of those things are broken down, so I would put it in here. But yeah, this was my rating on biblical foods which are mentioned in the Bible. Hopefully you got some value out of this video. If you liked the video, give it a like and drop a comment down below if you have any other recommendations. And yeah, see you later. Bye.